Thank you for the invitation. This is something that I'm happy to do. My name is Aminu Taukuma, and I'm an acting director with the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. I've been with the commission since inception. This is when it was created in 1999. I do not hope or intend to retire from here. As an investment promoter, I'm looking forward to someday having my own investment and out of government. I hope we're going to have a fruitful discussion. Thank you for inviting me again.
Thank you very much for honoring our invitation.
We're just going to, thank you very much, sir. Thank you, everyone. I'm going to just give a few more minutes for the rest of the participants to join, and we'll begin from there. And please note that this will be a recorded session, and it will be posted at a later date online. So I just wanted to put that out. Thank you.
Okay. Sure, thank you.
I think we have the first joiner.
Would someone let us know when audience starts joining, please?
We have one who's already joining.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this call. I welcome you all. My name is Habiba Waziri. I'm the country manager for ITM in Nigeria. And I'm going to give 2 more minutes for the rest of our participants to join. So please bear with us. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much for joining us. As mentioned, my name is Habiba Waziri, and welcome to our Career Talk webinar today. The topic is mentorship and leadership. I welcome you all. Before we begin, I would like to emphasize that a few tips that I normally give for webinars, because we've been doing them lately, just post-COVID. Just get a bottle of water, avoid any distractions, and sit in a very comfortable position. Before we begin, I'm going to introduce our guests here today. But before then, I'm going to introduce the company. So ITM is a Pan-African company operating in 6 different countries. We started in DRC, which is our headquarters. We have offices in Rwanda, Tanzania, Angola, South Africa, Nigeria, and Germany. And our expertise is in HR solutions, but we expanded into procurement, logistics, and transportation. So we are an all-round business solutions provider. That's about the company. And about our speakers, I'm going to do a very brief introduction. And after that introduction, I'm going to allow the speakers, in case I have missed anything, to add on to their vast CV of experience. I can see more guests joining, and welcome again. Thank you very much for being here with us today. We really appreciate you taking the time out to join us, and I'm hoping that we're going to learn much from this webinar, and we do a lot of engagement at the end. Okay, so I'm gonna move over to introducing our topic for today. We're going to discuss mentorship and leadership. And this training or webinar will tackle the aspect of professional mentorship and how leaders can navigate through the responsibility of influencing and empowering the next generation. If you're a thought leader or a leader in your organization, I suggest that you're here today. And if you're not, the good news is that we're going to record this session and we will share the link so you can pass it on to your various networks. Next, I'm going to introduce the speakers. We have 3 very important and key speakers for today. The first one, whom I will personally introduce with maybe the longest time, is Mr. Aminu Suleiman Takuma. He is the acting director at Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, and he's a member subnational Enabling Business Environment Committee of the World Bank Ease of Doing Business. He has over 21 years of experience. His expertise lies in strategic alliances with investors, as well as agribusiness investment initiative and infrastructure improvement. He has built and retained high-performance teams with strategic and operational and administrative services, and he has facilitated entrepreneurial ventures, business investment workshops, and economic trips in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria. He holds a master's degree in international affairs and diplomacy, and he has a bachelor's of science in operations research. And I'd like to add that he is one of the first members of the public sector that gave us as ITM Nigeria our first consulting opportunity. I thank you very much, sir, for that, and I'll always say thank you. And I really welcome you and taking your time out to give us your knowledge. I really appreciate you being here. The next speaker is Mr. Christian Kajuneri. He is the head of payment at Equity Bank in Rwanda. Before that, he worked in East Africa accounts for Zimbabwe and Eswatini on behalf of Ericsson in Africa. With over 10 years experience in the telecoms industry, he has acquired expertise in sales and supply chain management. He's passionate about leadership. He's a core believer in the hashtag Africa We Want and the social economic impacts of young people. Christian holds a master's in business administration and leadership from the Africa Leadership University. Need to say, the most prestigious African Leadership University's School of Business, and he has a bachelor's of science in telecommunications engineering. And personally, Christian is one of my friend's older brother, and he's been a great mentor to me, as well as a few people on this call. We really thank you for being here, Christian. I really appreciate you taking your time out today. And last and certainly not the least, Ms. Iris Urumba. She's the Managing Director of ITM Africa in Rwanda. She is a HR expert and career coach with more than 10 years of experience in her field. She has worked in different companies in telecoms and in the United Nations, mainly in HR firms. Throughout her professional journey, she has placed over 500 staff and conducted thousands of interviews. She holds an MBA in Human Resources from Oklahoma Christian University and a bachelor's degree in leadership and management. She's a dynamic career coach, a youth mentor, and she strives to empower young professionals. And personally, Iris, I would say this, she was the first person that I met when I flew to Rwanda for the annual review before I joined the company. And I remember just her asking me, how can I help you? And that was our first exchange, and she holds a special place in my heart. Thank you so much for taking the time out to join us today. Feel free to unmute. I'm going to give each speaker an opportunity to either reaffirm my introduction or to introduce themselves completely differently. If you're fine with it, I just want you to take 30 seconds to 1 minute to just say something to the listeners here today. Thank you very much. Mr. Aminu, we're going to start with you, sir. Thank you.
Habiba, thank you so much. I couldn't have done it better. You said it all. I'm so sorry that we have actually engaged you as consultants, but we have not been able to do much. But I want to use this opportunity to tell you that we will do more with ITM, more so now that I know that you have an international presence. So thank you for the introduction. Like I said, I couldn't have done it better. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Christian?
Thank you, Habiba. I think mine came a bit on an emotional note. Me being a mentor, I think it's more of a peer-to-peer mentor. I've learned a lot from ITM and every human being on a personal level. I really appreciate the kind words. Thank you, Habiba.
Thank you, Christian. Miss Iris?
Thank you, Abiba. I just wanted to say that grab your notes. I feel like I'm with an interesting panel. I've got my notebooks with me and I'm ready to learn. So let's get started. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Iris. And we're going to dive into the agenda for today. And we're going to make it as interactive as possible. For the guests that have joined us today, please feel free to use the comment box, the chat box, if you have any questions, concerns, any additions you'd like to share, thoughts and engagement that you'd like to do. At the end, once we stick to timing, we're going to open the floor for Q&A questions, and I look forward to having your engagement there. For the first question, I'm going to give this to Mr. Aminu to launch our webinar for us. So how do you define mentorship and how does it relate with leadership in your experience and in your expertise? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that question. A mentor is generally a person who gives another person the benefit of his or her years of experience or education. The experience is shared in such a way that mentors help to develop mentees' skills and ability. The benefiting mentee and whatever organization they are working on. Now, leadership and mentorship are two separate things, but are kind of interwoven together. Because leadership is the skills that to lead other people to accomplish the mission or any set goals. However, mentoring is that skill that guides. So leadership leads the people. Mentorship actually guides. It helps as well as set the vision, mission, for whatever goal that is set. Mentoring teaches skills, and this is intentionally. Mentorship also teaches character, and this is unintentionally. So when you're mentoring, it's either you do the task while the mentee watches, or both you and the mentee actually do the task together, or you allow the mentee to do the task while you watch and offer feedback. So, and this happens in an organized setting like where I work in, that is the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. You're a director of a department, and as a director of that department, you have a lot of staff that are looking up to you. So you're either a good director or a bad director. A good director is one who actually positions himself to be a mentor of those that work under him. I don't want to say so much because I know that there are other mentors that are going to mentor us today, and I would like to listen to them, and I know there would be more opportunities to talk. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. I really liked how you differentiated between mentorship and leadership. Sometimes we tend to think that they're one and the same, because a leader people assume that before you can mentor, you have to be a leader, which is necessarily not the case. But I look forward to exploring that in the next few minutes. Mr. Christian, this is directed for you. What is the purpose and impact of mentorship?
The purpose, thank you so much, Abiba, and I really appreciate what Mr. Aminu has said. That's a very good definition of mentorship. The purpose for me of the purpose and impact of mentorship is formally, I'll give two answers. The first one is to formally leverage your experience to aid a junior employee, supporting them in their work or career, providing feedback on their work, and most importantly, offering guidance to mentees as they walk through issues and work situations. But on an informal approach to give this answer, you're expected to generate a better person than you. So people don't only learn from your best practices, they also learn from your mistake. I think this was said by Confucius. He said that the best way to learn is by learning from other people's mistake, and the bitter one is by your own mistake. So the impact of a mentor is to create a better version of you, is to lead by empathy, is to be a servant leader. I think this was mentioned offline on the call with Iris. It is also pouring your life into the other person. You need to be extremely passionate about this initiative, and you need to be selfless in the process. That is it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christian. I really like that quote where you said people learn from your mistake, but the bitter one is for you to learn from your own mistake. We really underestimate how much we can learn from other people and focus so much energy on trying to learn on our own. But that's going to be such a long, hard road because other people's experience are there to be able to shape and guide us. Thank you. For the next question, I'm going to direct it to Iris. Should all leaders be mentors? What do you think?
Thank you so much for the question. If you can't hear me properly, let me know. There is a heavy rain in Kigali. What I wanted to say is that all leaders should be mentors. They're not necessarily mentors. Sometimes I would like to join what Amina said, that they're informally mentors, but they need to put in some more intentionality in it. And what I mean here is that all leaders somehow got to where they are by standing on other people's shoulders. So somehow you need to lend your shoulders so that others can stand on it and see far. So I believe one of the ways to do it, I like to tell the story of how I got here, that I met my mentor when I was very young, when I just started my career. And I really believe that it shaped me to become the leader that I am today, because very quickly I got to be mentored. So we realized that most of the time, professionals that mentor other professionals are those who got some mentorship on the early stage. They produce mentors easily than the leaders who never got formal mentorship. So what I want to say is what? Mentor, if you are a leader, you have the skills to be a mentor. Just dare to do it, dare to put some internationality in it, dare to give your time, dare to show others. I know that somehow certain managers in the workplace feel like if they pass on their knowledge to others, they feel insecure. I've seen this in the HR game happen so much. Leaders or managers not feeling that they should delegate, etc. But it's really important to pass on the torch, to pass on the skills, because none of us, all of us should be replaceable at some point in time. And as well, when you talk about succession plan, and when you're talking about the futures of the leaders of the future, this is what we're talking about. I know we'd like to say, to talk about African solutions being bought by Africans. And I think one of the best way really is to make sure that as leaders, we're not just doing it randomly, but we put some time and efforts to select. And this can come, it can start definitely from the colleagues, the people we see all the time, that we're pouring in some knowledge, not knowingly, and having some sort of time, putting time together to give the knowledge now intentionally. So if there is anything that you can retain from these, leaders need definitely to be more intentional mentors, and they don't have to look far. You can mentor one. It's a lifetime journey, and definitely dare to mentor. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris. I took away what you said, that all leaders should consider mentoring. They all have the skills, and they just need to dare to do it, dare to make the time. And I really encourage all the leaders here, all the thought leaders here, to think about one person. Think of one person that, you know, changed your, you know, the way for you. Someone that gave you an opportunity out of nowhere, and you always attach your successes to that person. So imagine if someone that you mentor in the future does the same for you. And I would like to move on to the next question with Mr. Aminu. How does a leader balance daily busy life responsibilities and being a mentor? And this is directly to you, just because you've been in, in the public sector for over 20 years. So you have all the, so you're probably, the experience that you have would be something that most of us would want to have in our own lifetimes. So I think this question would be very important if you give us some guidance. Thank you.
I believe he's muted.
Yes, so you're muted.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. Thank you very much for this question again. So like I said, daily busy life. Yes, that's very true. But what forms part of this busy life we're talking about? A chunk of it, to me, is actually mentoring. You would never see me working on something alone. When I work in teams. I'll give you an example. Very long time ago, when you work as teams, you have serious challenge, or rather challenges. Today, I could wake up at 2 a.m. and because I have the software application called Microsoft Teams, it makes life very easy. I have my colleagues, junior colleagues, senior colleagues, sending things that needs to be either corrected or asking for my inputs or comments. Sometimes because I'm busy doing other things, I'm not able to do that. But then because from 2 a.m. to probably 5 a.m. is the most quiet night, of the night, one can get up, and put up his laptop and work. So my experience really, and the way I balance, my busy schedules and being a mentor, like I said, is I pick up an assignment and I throw it at a colleague and I throw it to him or her as a challenge. And I have an open door policy. Sometimes we even go by first name basis. I'm sure the Nigerians that are listening would testify that in most government organizations, you have to either go Mr. Takuma or this or sir, so I have given my own junior colleagues the leverage, the chance to address me on my first name basis. And this is how I address them. So when you talk about busy schedules, to me, my schedules will not be busy if those I am mentoring are not involved. So there's no question of balancing anything. It all goes as one. Thank you. I hope I have addressed your question.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm really glad that you pointed that out, especially in terms of, your team members addressing you on a first name basis. Because we're a French company, a lot of, our partners out of Nigeria, address people with Mr. and Mrs. or Madam. But I made it a point to make sure that my team members, I didn't want them to call me that, just because I just felt like, we see each other every day. We're all around the same, level of experiences, so everyone should feel comfortable addressing you with your first name. So thank you very much for, bringing that to light. And for Mr. Christian, okay, I'm going to learn from Mr. Aminu and call, the speakers on their first name basis. For Christian, what if mentorship does not yield expected results? How do you tackle that?
I think it happens a lot. Thank you, Abiba, again. It happens a lot for different reasons. What if it happens? Sometimes the best way you need to change direction. Patience is not always an optimal way. I'll tell you why, and you need to highlight well your reasons. Something must be wrong for people to for the mentorship not to yield expected results. Sometimes because expectations were not set right in the first place, lack of shared values from both sides, lack of a visionary leader, not adding value to your life. Maybe you have misunderstanding or your mentor is disinterested. Cognitive biases. We have different background, so there's this way you understand things, and that other way the other person that does not understand or understand. It has to be a quid pro quo relationship. Everyone has to win something. The mentor has to have a selfless heart, as I mentioned earlier, but also the mentee needs to be seeing benefit in the relationship. So sometimes you just need to part ways and to readjust. Maybe you can come back. It has happened to me on a personal level. I've had to separate with some people that I call mentors and get new ones and keep some and go back to some others. So this is what I can share as an experience.
Thank you very much, Christian. I really appreciate you mentioning that sometimes mentorship doesn't always work out. You know, some mentors don't know that, you know, these things happen along the way, especially new mentors. And some mentees have high expectations and don't, you know, intend for this to happen, but it happens. So I'm glad that you mentioned it. And for the sake of, you know, the webinar, I wrote down some of the issues that some people might face when it comes to mentorship. So for Iris, I have the next question. And does mentorship always have to be between different generations? And I think this is a great question for you, just because, you know, you've had mentors that were really young and you've had mentors that were very, you know, much older, much more experienced. So I think if you give us also a story to go with your mentorship, that would be very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Aviva, for the question. This is tricky. I think I don't look at mentorship as related to generations, but rather to experience. I'll explain what I mean. You could be younger and have a wide experience, and you could use that experience to mentor anyone who comes within your workplace because you have more skills. I have mentored some, I would say, people who are more highly in, who I consider could be my biggest sisters, just because they were looking for public speaking skills, and they knew because they had watched me over the years, it was a skill that I had, and I was able to help them in that area. So I would look at a mentorship being really a sense of sharing experience. Do you have enough experience to share or to pass on to your mentee? It's really more about the experience than it is about the generation. However, what I would like to say is that in most cases, of course, the generation that's been there before is quite ahead. So what I would say is that generation is somehow entitled to pass on to the younger generation because they have seen much more. But it also brings me to the point where, as I mentioned before, you don't have to wait to be to the level of Christian to start mentoring. Whatever experience that you have, it has to be like a constant thing. That's how you're able to become a leader who's able to navigate through the busy schedule and become a good mentor, because you have been actually giving since you were younger. So mentorship to me is not related to generations. You can be a mentor regardless. It's all about, do you have someone you want to put in? Do you have enough knowledge and experience to share with your mentee? And again, as I said, from my experience, I've seen people who are younger sharing knowledge with people who are more who are a bit older, so it has nothing to do. One thing I would say, it's a relationship, and the relationship has to be both sides. It has to be built on openness and feedback and sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iris. I picked a sentence out of what you said. Mentorship is a sharing experience, but in most cases, the next generation is quite ahead with vast experience. And that's very good because, you know, a lot of us don't look at young people, and I'm saying us in general, just because there's more young people that are looking towards older generations to mentor them. But sometimes, you know, the innovations that you need might come from the fellow young people that you're choosing not to, you know, have that mentor-mentee relationship with. So thank you for talking about that. And Mr. Aminu, I'm really happy you talked about having a lot of team members and also using Microsoft Teams with your team members. And I really want you to touch on, you know, what is the ideal mentor-mentee relationship? What does it look like? And so that the others, the guests here will be able to catch up. Thank you. Mr. You're muted.
So sorry. Okay, so when you talk about the mentor-mentee relationship, I would use a personal experience again. A good mentor, or rather good mentors, are normally enthusiastic people, enjoying the role they play in helping others to achieve their goals. Considering a mentor, you know, you look for somebody who is enthusiastic, somebody who is fit, somebody who is respectful. And so when you talk about a relationship, it's like I told you, it's like what I said previously. You have a relationship with a mentee in such a way that he feels very free, you know, to question you on anything you do. The mentee would question you, but respectfully. The mentee would see you doing something that is probably out of place and would say, but didn't you say this is how we should do it? Why are you not doing it? Some mentors deliberately just come out and do things to see if the mentee, you know, is that free to say, this is it, what you're doing is going out of place. So the kind of relationship you're looking at, and that is speaking to what Iris just talked about. Cross-generational mentoring should be encouraged. One should not think that because there's this difference in age, you know, one is not able to speak to the mentor, you know, freely. I have a 4-year-old son at home who would challenge me to, you know, the kids today are very bright. You're watching maybe National Geographic channel, you know, deliberately I watch this channel so that it will educate, you know, the kids. And they begin to ask so many questions to the extent that somebody who is not patient will begin to say, why are you asking so much questions? You know, and so it's best to allow the kids to be curious. It's best to allow them to ask questions. And that is the kind of relationship, you know, that one should put in place between a mentor and a mentee. Once somebody asked me, that relationship never comes to an end, because the person that actually mentored me in the private sector is about 80 years old today, Chief Kolada Esi, and I'm still in touch with him, because before coming into the public sector, I had actually worked in Elf Petroleum for 9 years. So I have a good combination of both the private and the public sector. And probably that explains why when I mentor people, even in the public sector, it's quite different from the way the core public sector person does. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You mentioned Professor Kola Daisy, and I know a few other people that he's mentored, and they've turned out to be super, super successful. And that goes to show you that, you know, that mentor-mentee relationship as well makes such a huge difference. Thank you very much, sir. I'll move on to the next question, which will go to Christian. And the question is, having experience in mentorship, what are the tips for a leader that doesn't know how, but would like to get started? And I think this is very important for the guests that we have here today, just because even if, you know, they want to get into mentorship, they need to have something like a roadmap that will give them a guidance. So since you've had a lot of mentors, I really want you to discuss more on that and give us, you know, case studies as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Abiba. So I'll mention the 3 C's of mentorship. The number 1 role of a mentor will be a consultant. This is the most obvious role for a mentor to play. The second one is to be a counselor and to be an active listener. The third one is to be a cheerleader. In addition of all that, you need to learn how to give constructive feedback. There's a technique that I use, it's called the SBI. S standing for the situation, B standing for behavior, and I for the impact. And advice that a mentor can give you, they should also provide support and enthusiasm. Now, on a practical experience, without his permission, I will introduce one of my mentees. I'm glad he attended. His name is Eugene Mukishimana. I think he would be the right person to tell me if I'm doing a good job. Corona has not been helping. I think we have not used the proper tools of Zoom and Teams like Mr. Aminu said. But I told him what I'll be giving you is my life. It might come in a wrong shape, but I ask you to be observant, to learn. I'll learn to cheer you. I've seen him growing and I always cheer him. What I appreciate about him also, he gives me updates of every promotion or success he's doing in his life. And we did a roadmap of what he wants to do, personal business, personal growth, academic, pursuing his master's degree, ambitions in leadership. We did a kind of SWOT analysis, where he needs to grow, what he's lacking and all that. What I've seen in him and that I'd like to recommend to whoever would like to become a mentee or a mentor is humility. He's extremely humble, very humble. He's actually more an active listener than me. And actually, I keep on telling him, he can be a good mentor already. It's just the formal setup that we have put in place. It's quite interesting. I had Mr. Aminu mentioning about his 4-year son. I was planning to give the scenario I had this morning with my 4-year-old daughter. So I put on a blue marine suit in the morning. And she told me that she doesn't want me to put on the blue suit, but to put the black suit. I told her, but it's not matching. And then she looked at my shirt and my trousers. She said, no, even these two do not match. And then I told her, but I don't like the blue, the dark blue. I have to match because it's a bank policy. She looked at me, she said, okay, it's okay, you are handsome. I blushed. This is too much for a 4-year-old daughter. Then on my way thinking, and I'll give you a second scenario before giving you the lesson I learned from that. There's a time I had money, I think I had almost $50 in an envelope. Then I told my wife, please, I don't want to have cash on me, please take this money. Then she told me, throw it at me. Hello? Hello? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear.
you.
Okay. Then I threw the money at my wife, and my daughter was watching. And her reaction was, Daddy, you don't throw things at people. That's not polite. Now, back to mentoring and tips. You realize the best way to teach or to mentor is your lifestyle. It's what you do, how you behave. Everything that you do will be an example. But of course, you have to be extremely cautious about your behavior, about what you say, about what you do. And about the earlier example I gave about her, that for me was a sign of empathy and showing care. Because the same thing we put in her, they give it back to us. Thank you. Thank you, Abby.
Thank you so much, Christian, for sharing such, personal stories. The fact that, she was so smart, to even point out that, well, what you're wearing is not matching either. So what are you trying to do? That was so sweet of her. But thank you so much for sharing that. I would like to, this is going to be our last question before we take, like a few minutes to discuss with some of the members of our team. If you're interested in, having a mentor from one of our speakers today, we'll be happy to recommend, and we'll share their LinkedIn profile and you can reach out to them there. But I'm gonna put the last question out to Iris, and here it is. What advice would you give to mentees or people looking for mentors? And when does the mentor-mentee relationship end? Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Aviva. I'm going to start with the last question. I don't think a relationship of mentor-mentee is supposed to end. That's in my perspective. I think really it's a lifetime journey. It's not like coaching, which is a program that's supposed to end after quite some time. Now, what I believe is expected of mentee, and I'm saying this because I recently started an intensive program with 6 young ladies. One of them is in this call as well. And I said to them, look, I'm going to be putting my time to organize sessions with each one of you or collectively so that you can get to learn from this. And I told them, it is your responsibility to grab as much as you can from me, because I'm not going to be chasing you, asking, are you chasing your own dreams? I have my dream and I believe I'm walking that path. And what mentees are requested to do, as Christian said, is watch, listen, learn, and ask questions. Be curious, as Mr. Aminu said. It's very important that you don't think that a mentor is supposed to fix you. Nobody's going to fix anyone. It's your responsibility to handle your life, watching or looking in the mirror of your mentor. And I think that is why, as a mentee, you have the chance or opportunity to have someone that you look at, like the terms that millennials like to say, I want to be like you when I grow up. Like, imagine having that person that you can look up to, and now we have them. I was even having a conversation with someone earlier today, and I was talking about, as managers, I remember always thinking, when you're in a job in the first time and you're wishing, like, I wish I had someone who taught me this way. And you grow in your career, and then you get to a level where you're a manager and leader. And my question to you is, if you're in this conversation, are you giving the hand to the mentee so that anyone coming in your office can say, okay, I'm new to this office and someone gave me a hand. Someone said, look, I can help you out. Feel free, my door is open if you want to have an opportunity. So I think it's a two-street way, but most importantly, as a mentee, it's your responsibility to chase and grab as much as you can from the life of your mentor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Iris. That is a very strong question that we closed the webinar with. If you're in a leadership position, are you giving a hand to someone that is not there yet? That is a very strong question that I think everyone should, go and digest and see if there's any opportunities to improve, or how they can make themselves, more available for mentorship programs, that would be very, very good. Unfortunately, we're coming to the end of the webinar. We're going to just give a few more minutes for questions and engagements or suggestions or any feedback. And, we'll take about 3 questions, I think, looking at the time. And while I allow some of the other guests to send in their questions, Mr. Aminu already has one question. Ms. Dorcas asked the question, we all know it can be hard to get a mentor in some industries, the public sector, for example. What can one do when they can't find the right mentor, in quotes? You have the floor, sir.
Well, yeah, sure. Thank you. That's a difficult one, but very common in Nigeria, because you find out that the best mentors are actually those that have a good combination of the public and the private sector. And I'm talking experience-wise here. When I first started in NIPC, it wasn't easy because you could clearly divide the directors at that time, those that are core public sector oriented people or experience, and those that came from the private sector. So in a situation where you do not find the right mentor in a public institution, I think the world is wide enough. If you have anybody in the private sector that you know would do justice to what you're looking for, please go for that, because it's not a total loss. You won't say because you don't have one in the industry where you are at, that you want to look for one. But ideally, a good leader should be the one looking for those that he's going to pick as his mentees. What I do for me is I pick a mentee that I know eventually will become a mentor to someone else. I don't think I've done justice to your question, but in a situation where you have nothing, fall back to what you can get. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I think that's very important. The mentees you're going to pick right now should have the characteristics of people that will mentor someone in the future. That was very, very important. So we don't have any more questions right now. Okay. There's another question for Christian. Knowing our Rwandan culture, do you think our leaders are open to mentorship? Christian, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Viva. I'll answer in 1 minute. I don't think in the Rwandan culture is more about to be open. I think it's the readiness. I think most of our leaders are not trained to do mentorship or mentoring. I think they need to be equipped with the tools. But to do justice to our generation or the world generation ahead of us, it's a new approach that most people are embracing. I'll give an example of my current mentor. He has been my mentor for the last 15 years. It started on a friendship level. He became my best man. He has become my spiritual mentor. He has become my career mentor. I'm very accountable to him, to everything that happens in my life. So we have built such a relationship intentionally, and it has been a learning curve for the two of us. So I think it's more of equipping our leaders, exposing them to the new culture, and the best leader is the one that has a successor. Thank you.
Christian, thank you for dropping all those gems. A good leader is the one that has a successor. But you don't have to answer this question right now, but think to yourself, do you have a successor already? And you'll be able to answer that question yourself. Mr. Shatima, were you trying to ask a question? No? Okay, you have to unmute. Okay, yeah. Go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I just want to ask a leader who doesn't care about the personal situation of the staff working under him or her, truly be a leader and a mentor.
Okay, I'm gonna let Iris answer this question. Iris?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I think that's a very intriguing question, and I really want to differentiate. Not everyone in a leadership position is a leader. You can really be in a managerial role. You're a CEO, but you do not have leadership skills. Leadership is really about the people. If you cannot understand that your staff member has a kid who's sick and you attend to their level and you're only oriented towards your work, I'm sorry to say, but to me, that's not leadership. It's really managerial skills. And again, unfortunately, we have in our workspace we have to deal with such people, such leaders. I always say that most of the people who excel in the workplace either have bad managers, that means poor leaders, or they have very excellent leaders who groom them and shape them, like the one I've experienced in my lifetime and who I believe made me feel the way I am. Now, you have to understand that somehow, whatever we are is a fruit of what's been happening in the past. I always tell my team when they tell me, like, how come you're a very flexible leader, etc. And I said, I feel like I owe them that because I've known better. So the problem is, if you have not known better, when you get into a position where you can now, you have the power to say something or change or influence someone's life, remember always what kind of leadership you had. Was it someone that was better? Was it a good leadership that you feel like you can relate to? Or was it something that you did not like and you do not wish to get to? So if it was a leadership that you did not like because it was not centered to human connection and understanding, make sure that when you become a leader, you're not the same leader. I think that's the only way to break such leadership. And as well, I think leaders as well need feedbacks, or people in those managerial roles. And I feel like in our African context, we look at our leaders as people that we need to praise, that we need to be submissive to. So I think it's time that we challenge that we come back with feedback to challenge the way they lead us. And with a chance, if we do not manage to change the situation for us, at least we can take it as a lesson to make it a better place or working place for others. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that answer, Iris. I took two things from there. You either have a bad manager or you have a good leader. And ultimately, the decision lies with you. What do you want to get out of this? What do you want to get out of that situation? And I hope that, I don't see that there's more questions here, but I hope that everyone that has participated in this webinar today has learned one thing or more. And I hope that when we send the invitations for our next webinar, you would be interested to join us. As we wrap up due to timing, we know other people have commitments. I want to thank again all our panelists, Ms. Iris, Mr. Christian, Mr. Aminu, for donating your time to come and educate us, and to also invite your network to come and join us. And for the guests that asked the questions, we really thank you for your courage, as well as your honesty when asking those questions. And for the guests that have participated today, we are going to have a link to this video available at a later date. So if you're interested in getting a copy just to share with your network, please reach out to us at ITM Africa. If you check the website, I'll type the website in a chat box. And reach out to us there, and we'll be able to give you some guidance. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I really appreciate you. And again, my name is Habiba Waziri, and I'm the country manager of ITM in Nigeria. And I look forward to having you another time. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Habiba.
Thanks,
Have a great
Habiba.
day,
Thank
everyone.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
And nice meeting you guys.
Nice meeting you, sir.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.